This might come as a shock, but the recipient of the FIFA Peace Prize just proposed the biggest military budget in modern American history. Or with Trump officially sending his budget request to Congress for the next fiscal year, and by far the biggest expense is the $1.5 trillion for the military. Which is wild, because it feels like just yesterday that we passed $1 trillion for the first time, and now Trump wants to bump that up by over 40%. We're talking about some 4.5% of the country's entire GDP, according to an expert at Brookings, amounting to the largest year-over-year increase since the Korean War. And that doesn't even count the extra $200 billion that Trump wants specifically for the war in Iran. So in the end, if he got everything that he wanted, we'd be looking at $1.7 trillion for the self-described Department of War just over one fiscal year. With that, including a wide variety of things, including, pay raises for service members, but also the Golden Dome missile defense system and Trump's so-called Golden Fleet of Navy ships, among other things. Also, Trump's budget wants to hand over $40 billion to the Justice Department, a 13% bump, as well as $10 billion for ICE. And then, on the other side of the ledger, you have Trump wanting to cut pretty much anything that isn't blowing up or deporting people. And so under his plan, discretionary non-defense spending would shrink by about 10% to $660 billion, or with $73 billion in cuts spread over numerous departments and agencies. And so the EPA's budget would be cut in half. Labor loses $3.5 billion. Housing and urban development down over $10 billion. Also another $15 billion's gone from energy. NASA's budget loses about a quarter. Health and Human Services falls over 12%. With that HHS cut, including $5 billion for the National Institutes of Health, which, according to the White House, quote, broke the trust of the American people with wasteful spending, misleading information, risky research, and the promotion of dangerous ideologies that undermine public health. And so that's how they justified most of these cuts, claiming that the money was either wasteful or spent on woke programs that supposedly discriminate against white people. Though it's also a little unclear how that applies to federal aid meant to help people afford their heating and cooling bills, or money to respond to natural disasters, train new teachers, root out tax fraud, research cures for diseases, and develop clean energy technology. But either way, this signals very clearly what Trump's policy priorities are: waging war and mass deportations, which also is something that many people have pointed out is rather ironic, given that Marco Rubio just criticized Iran for the exact same thing.
Imagine an Iran that instead of spending their wealth, billions of dollars supporting terrorists or weapons, had spent that money helping the people of Iran. You'd have a much different country.
But during a private lunch the other day, Trump staked out the polar opposite position, straight up telling Americans, we can't help you because we're too busy dropping bombs.
We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. It's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing: military protection. We have to guard the country.
And then, of course, fuck your childcare. He has to deck out the White House, because his budget plan also allocates $377 million to executive residence renovations for the current fiscal year and another $174 million for the next year. And overall now, Trump's budget devotes nearly $2.2 trillion to discretionary spending, which doesn't include mandatory spending like Medicare and Social Security. So if this went through, you could expect just a jaw-dropping increase to the deficit, which was already enormous after Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill. Or with a committee for a responsible federal budget estimating that this would add nearly $6 trillion to the national debt by 2035 when interest is included. And so with all this, you've seen Democrats speaking up, with Patty Murray, the top Democrat on the Senate Appropriations Committee, writing, imagine how many families we could help if, instead of giving the Pentagon more money than they can even figure out what to do with, we cut people's heating bills in half and made childcare affordable for every family in America. Saying President Trump wants to slash medical research to fund costly foreign wars. He doesn't get more backward than that, and the only responsible thing to do with a budget this morally bankrupt is to toss it in the trash. And you're already seeing there's just so much fodder for Democratic attack ads going into this midterm election cycle.
Look at that gas pump. We're paying the cost every damn day of this war in Iran. But for Congressman Van Orden, we're not paying enough. He's going for another $200 billion to spend on Iran. This is the same guy who backed big cuts to VA care for vets.
Now, of course, to add a big caveat to all this is that this is a budget proposal, right? Congress has to approve it. And while congressional Republicans, they largely let Trump do whatever Trump wants to do, last year, the Republicans rejected most of the deep spending cuts that are now reappearing in this proposal. So people are expecting maybe a watered-down version again this time. And in fact, a few Republican lawmakers like Susan Collins and Tim Burchett, they've already expressed reservations about it. But then also, I have to know that even if Congress doesn't give him exactly what he wants, you've many worrying that Trump's just going to skirt around the law and just do it anyway. Right? Because you've already had him refusing to spend money appropriated by Congress and reallocating funds for something that Congress did approve to something that it didn't.